In the headlines, 2 bodies recovered in Jos after flooding across Plateau communities. Many farmers killed as bandits attacked 7 villages around Kebbi-Sokoto border. Police launch probe into attack on Ondo commissioner during palliatives distribution. Also in the news, US-Iran release prisoners in $6 billion swap deal. Well, hello there. Good afternoon and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. We start in Plateau State as 2 bodies suspected to have been washed away by floodwaters in Naraguta community of Jos North local government area of the state during a heavy downpour over the weekend were recovered. The flooding destroyed over 100 houses in Angwanrogo, Rikos, Bauchi Road and Naraguta communities of Jos North local government area after torrential rainfall. Officials of the State Emergency Management Agency in the state had on Monday visited the affected communities to sympathize with victims. Staying with security-related matters, persistent bandit attack in Niger State is generating public debate among locals as to whether the attacks are being carried out by bandits, members of Ansaru, or members of the insurgent group known as ISWAP. Now, this is coming on the heels of concerns that bandits are regrouping across northwest and north-central Nigeria as farmers begin harvesting their crops across the country. Abubakar Akoti has more on the story.
The last 8 years had been very challenging, especially for farmers in the Shiroro, Monya, Ushishi, Mashegu, Rijo, Mariga, Paikoro and Rafi local government areas, as well as part of Borgu, Lapai and Kontagora. Figures from the Niger State Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management showed that over 29,000 farmers have been displaced in the last 8 years due to attack, while over 11,000 children are out of school and over 400 schools closed. But while government and security operatives intensify efforts to address the persistent killings and kidnappings of people, identities of the non-state actors killing and abducting farmers dominate discussion among victims and security analysts. We are still faced with security challenges. There are different groups operating in your area. There are Boko Haram insurgents and a group of bandits led by one Dogo Gide, but they operate separately, but in the same area. Each time they operate, they kill us and kidnap some people and collect ransom.
We did a work on community resilience. From the interview we had with the people in Muya, Chukuba, and so on, they said these people were preaching to them. So the signature of preaching is insurgency. Like mentioned again earlier, if you see insurgency, 1, they preach; 2, the sophistication of their weapons and their preparedness to attack or have counter-attack with the army is a strong signature. For bandits, once these things happen, they run away. But insurgents will always want to wait and die because they think when they die, they go to paradise. So their own commitment to violence is extra beyond that of bandits. So from the things we have seen, having firepower to face the army and then still waiting for the army to come and fight, have counter-attack with them, they are signs of insurgents.
Immediate past governor Abubakar Sani Bello was forced to raise alarm that Boko Haram insurgents had erected flag in part of the state, a claim that was corroborated by chairman of Shiro local government area. The state governor, Umar Mohammed Bago, said the state government will no longer go into discussion with the attackers, saying that they have refused to honor the opportunity given to them.
We have already extended the olive branch to them for negotiation. Those that are good guys have already come into the fold. So we are ready for combat now. And that we have deployed our men. We have made some purchases of heavy hardwires, and we are going after them. We are not waiting for them to come out again. So we'll bring them out and flush them.
The residents of Borogu local government had also raised concern in 2021 that elements of Boko Haram and ISWAP were present in the area after an audio went viral in which the narrators claimed to be preaching the words of God. Abubakar Akote, Trust TV News, Mina.
Now, for over a decade, life in Borno State has been a challenge with frequent attacks by Boko Haram insurgents, destabilizing the state of affairs, leading to the destruction of lives and livelihoods of the people. Residents of Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, are now experiencing pre-insurgency stability that is characterized by peace, safety, and security of life and property. Adamu Gulde filed in this report.
Muhammad Adamu was once a successful farmer and trader, but has been living life like this for the past a decade. This makeshift structure is where he's trying to raise his family after Boko Haram violence turned his life upside down. He says his chain of businesses, houses and farms all perished in a single attack in 2009. I am from Abadam local government area in northern Borno. Before this insecurity, we lived peacefully without any worries. But since the problem started in year 2014, it displaced all our assets. Borno State and local government are trying to support us with food and non-food items. We really appreciate. The conflict in northeastern Nigeria has displaced more than 2.5 million people, forcing them into camps. The government shut down these camps last year as reconstruction gathered momentum. This is the former school and home of Mohammed Yusuf, the founder of Boko Haram. Nigerian security forces demolished the structure shortly after the rebellion was contained in 2009, but the movement got even bigger and continued to kill people and destroy property in northern Nigeria. As restoration hits length and breadth of the state, hundreds of schools destroyed by armed groups are being rebuilt, with more students enrolled.
I want to assure you that the government of Borno State will very soon establish a very functional cyber security for all.
Borno State Governor, in terms of infrastructure, thousands of kilometers of roads that were destroyed during fighting between security forces and Boko Haram are being fixed, while biggest traders load up goods to neighboring Cameroon, Chad, and Niger Republic. With improved security, farmers who couldn't access their farmlands have returned to their farms after decades of destructions. Even hospitals that were not spared by armed groups are back offering services to the sick. However, with Boko Haram still posing significant security threat, many are worried that the restoration efforts could still go wrong.
To Ondo State now, where the State Police Command says it has begun a probe into the attack of the Commissioner for Women Affairs in the state. Osaduhun was attacked in the Origidi Okoko area of the state during the distribution of palliatives to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In a statement released on Monday, the State Police Public Relations Officer in the state, Fumilayo Odunlami, who confirmed that an investigation had commenced, as the Commissioner of Police in the state has condemned the brutal attack on the Commissioner. Meanwhile, the state government has also condemned the attack on the Commissioner, saying an assault on a government official on duty is not only criminal, but an affront to the government. The Commissioner for Information and Orientation in the state, Bamidele Ademola Olateju, in a statement issued on Monday, says the state government would join in investigating the assault case while assuring that it will support the full weight of the law to take its course. Now, the federal government has resumed talks with the Nigeria Labour Congress, aiming to stave off the threat of an indefinite nationwide strike. At the end of the almost 3-hour-long meeting, both parties failed to reach a resolution. Here's the latest.
A nationwide strike is looming, but the Nigerian government is determined to avert it, which is why the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Lalong, is calling this meeting with Labour. The last 2-day warning strike called by the Nigerian Labour Congress was largely successful and gave government sleepless nights as long as it lasted. A full-blown indefinite national industrial action later this month is therefore inconceivable to Nigerian authorities.
Our meeting was very robust, and we had a very, very fruitful meeting. But at the end of the day, Many of those items that we left are still for consideration, and before the final agreement, or what I would call discussions.
But to the Nigerian Labour Congress, the last warning strike was a product of frustration since none of its demand has been met. Such demands include an introduction of the compressed natural gas, increase in minimum wage, resolving the ASU and the NURTW crisis, as well as the issue of transfers. The Congress says it is particularly annoyed by the role of the police in the crisis rocking one of its unions, the NURTW, and says it remained one of the preconditions for averting the impending nationwide strike.
Like the Honorable Minister said, we had a fruitful deliberation and we have agreed to continue to make sure we arrive at a meaningful agreement within the remaining days of the ultimatum.
After more than 3 hours of closed-door talks, it will seem as if both parties have not reached a resolution.
Acknowledge the valid grievances that have fueled the recent labor crisis, and we are committed to addressing them in a just and equitable manner. We must also recognize the economic realities that confront us. As we address the concerns of our workforce, we must be mindful of striking a balance that promotes economic growth and secures sustainable progress.
It was not deadlock because there is discussion, and discussion is a kind of, it's an open-ended one, that we can meet again this night, we can meet tomorrow morning, but both parties will work towards the realization of these objectives before the last minute of the ultimatum.
Even though there is no resolution yet, the Nigerian Labour Congress says it will continue to honor government invitations aimed at reaching an amicable resolution of all issues in dispute.
In other news, the National Human Rights Commission and UN Body for Human Rights have called for a holistic approach to protect the rights of migrants. The organizations made the call at a two-day training exercise on human rights and migration organized by the NHRC and the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and Migration in Abuja. The training with the title Promise Protection of Migrants started on September 18th to September 19th to strengthen capacity of West African states, develop human rights-based responses to smuggling of migrants and combat rights violations. Now, the Executive Secretary of the Human Rights Commission, Tony Ojukwu SAN, described the project as apt in efforts to tackle issues related to violation of rights of migrants. He also decried social, economic and political vulnerabilities such as poverty, inequalities, conflicts and human insecurity, which he says are major triggers to irregular migration, trafficking and smuggling of migrants. Also speaking, Adwo Kufo Owusu, the Senior Human Rights Advisor at the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, says migration-related issues had affected countless lives of individuals and communities across the region. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has compulsorily retired all management staff with less than 15 months to their statutory retirement. In an early Tuesday morning announcement, the company declared that the retirement of the affected workers was with immediate effect, stressing that the move would support its business objectives. Now, the national oil firm disclosed this via its official X, formerly known as Twitter handle, as it says that it is in line with a bid to pursue effective organizational renewal to support delivery of its strategic business objectives, which made it imperative to rejuvenate the workforce. It was further gathered that the firm also carried out employee reorganizations in its top management cadre, moving some senior officials to other arms of its ventures such as the Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Limited and the Nigeria Petroleum Development Company, among many others. You're watching Trust News Update on Trust TV. Coming up ahead. Nigerians groan as cost of living continues to rise. More on this and many other stories coming up ahead after the break.
Hello guys, welcome to Showtime.
I don't even believe there's any other industry that will handle me like movie industry.
Yeah.
I told you I'm deep and soaked into movie industry.
In secondary school, there's Fatima and Mariam Adamu, and then we sort of took the names of the characters in that cartoon.
I think entertainers themselves need to wake up and smell the coffee and say, diversification is the way to go. Yes, you can sing or make great beats or act in a film, but what else can you do?
I became one of the best makeup artists in Nigeria. I won AMA Award Best Makeup Artist.
Do you think we are arrogant of fool when I talk to you? You start straight. Attention!
Welcome back to the news and thank you for staying with us. Here's a quick reminder of our top stories at this hour. 2 bodies recovered in Jos after flooding in Plateau communities. Many farmers killed as bandits attacked 7 villages across Kebbi-Sokoto border. Now, the cost of living crisis in Nigeria is continuing to negatively impact the purchasing power of residents across Benue State, especially as schools reopen for another academic session. The rising cost of living is influencing a steady rise in the price of goods and services across markets in the state. Jimmy Azande visited the popular modern market in Makurdi for this report.
Prices of common commodities like confectionaries, including biscuits and juice, have multiplied. That's according to the residents. The need for these items has raised confusion and lamentations for parents and guardians, with some of them saying this was not the situation in their last encounter with the traders.
The situation is pathetic because you see a budget that has been planned at home. What we are seeing in the market is far from what we have budgeted at home. So the situation is really pathetic.
Because a lot of things, in fact, the price is too high. Because as our children are resuming back to school, I went to the market today, I discovered that everything increased. Even books, everything increased. So, and this is another challenge that many parents they are facing, because some of them they do not even prepare on time.
With these realities, some have adjusted their budgets in order to enable them get what they can.
I plan to buy biscuits, which I usually buy for 2,500, and it's about 3,100 thereabouts. So the increase is high. I usually plan to buy like 3 cartons, but I ended up buying just 2 with a squeezed plan.
Subsidy where they remove, where they no plan them. As they remove them, it affect everything for market. Transportation, before I go modern market, from here to modern market, 300 naira. But now they go there 500. So if I come back and with my expenses, things will go up small. I think because I'm done.
Hike in fuel price is affecting everybody. But speaking for myself, I am into buying and selling, so it is affecting the cost of goods in terms of way bill and transportation. So there is hike in fuel price, which is affecting the cost of bringing down these goods from where we buy them down to this region.
The palliative pronounced by the government may not be enough. if prices of goods and services are not controlled. In any case, the parents will have to adjust to the current situation and wait until such a time when things get better. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Now, the House of Representatives has pledged to promote cordial relationships and forge partnerships with development partners on capacity building for lawmakers and the media towards the success of the 10th National Assembly. Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas made the pledge during an interaction with local and foreign development partners on Monday in Abuja.
The visit, according to representatives of the various organizations, is to brainstorm on ways to ensure that the 10th legislative agenda, as encapsulated by the Speaker during his swearing-in, is achieved. The Speaker, while welcoming the guests to his office, enjoined them to take a good look at the legislative agenda with a view to finding areas of collaboration that will be of benefit to Nigerians.
We have observed that over the years, some of you have had to engage different committees and departments of the House of Representatives to sometimes organize programs without a coordinated approach or needs assessment of the House.
In their responses, the development partners assured of continuous support for the National Assembly, stressing that areas of governance, rule of law, security and accountability, amongst others, will be given priority attention.
We engage on a broad number of areas, including the delivery process in the National Assembly, constitutional amendment process, electoral reforms. We're passionate about the involvement of women and youth in elections and the democratic process. And of course, on issues of anti-corruption, for instance, the kind of work that we've done on the audit bill previously with the Public Accounts Committee.
I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can support the new House of Assembly and your agenda. I'd just like to kind of underscore as well that the creation of this program management unit is something that we really welcome.
The Speaker urged them to come up with a program that will integrate and aggregate all ideas in the form of a calendar for proper coordination.
I think one thing that is obvious for us to actually make further headway is to find a way of integrating all your activities. The way we do it in the past is not yielding the desired results, even though on fractional basis, we might be appreciating what you are doing, but on a global scale, we are not seeing the kind of picture that Nigerians are supposed to see because we are doing them in a not too coordinated manner.
Also present at the event were the Policy and Advocacy Center, PLAC, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CIS-LAC, British High Governance and United Nations Development Programme.
Let's turn our attention now to developments on the international scene. The United States and Iran on Monday swapped 5 prisoners each in one of the archfoes' first deals in years as Tehran gained access to $6 billion in frozen funds. The 5 Americans freed by Iran include one held for over 8 years. They were flown out of Tehran in a Qatari jet hours after the unblocked funds were deposited in accounts also managed by Qatar. The freed prisoners walked in the setting sun on the tarmac, and within hours, a separate U.S. government plane shuttled them to Washington, where some will undergo medical checkups. Now, Secretary of the United States, Antony Blinken, insisted that the Biden administration had, quote, no higher priority than to freeing United States citizens in captivity. 2 of the Iranian detainees returned to Tehran after transiting Doha, Iranian official media said. Now, the other 3 released by the United States have opted to remain in the United States or in a third country. Following quiet discussions led in part by Qatar, the 2 countries completed the exchange after the transfer of $6 billion in funds frozen by the United States ally South Korea. The Biden administration has rejected criticism at home that it was, quote, paying ransom, insisting that the money will be used only for humanitarian purposes, with a threat to refreeze the funds if the guidelines are not followed. in sports, there is more controversy trailing Nigeria's athletics star Toby Amusan with the Athletics Integrity Unit AIU. Now, just before the World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary, Toby Amusan was provisionally suspended after she failed to undergo a compulsory doping test. But she was later cleared to compete in Budapest and she was unable to defend her title. The AIU on Monday confirmed that they have commenced a legal battle with the Nigerian International, and the matter was being taken to the Court of Arbitration for Sports. According to the statement, the IAU will make no further comment on the matter until the conclusion of the appeal. Well, that's it. You're up to date with the latest news stories at this hour. We're back for more later at 2 p.m. For now, follow us across our social media platforms for more content and visit trusttv.com for more news. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching.